Okay, for section 5.2, now we're looking at evidence of a changing Earth. And so, like, evidence that kind of backs up this theory of evolution. Okay, there's Evolution Song. I'll post that. It's just on YouTube. I'll post that along with these videos. Okay, so first off, we have evidence from fossils. Okay, and so paleontology is a study of fossils. Whoops, sorry. So, and like paleontologists, like usually we hear of them working in like Drumheller, places like that, that are looking at like dinosaurs, but it's really just a study of any fossils. Okay, the central role, they play a central role in studying evolution. Okay, they've discovered over 250,000 fossil species. Okay, or species from fossils. Okay, what fossilizes? So like, there's many things that we can find fossils of. So there's burrows, so we can look at like where something lived. Okay, footprints, molds. It's not always just bones. It's actually really rare that we see fossilized bones of anything. Okay, fossils can provide a direct physical evidence of past life. So what happened in the past based on what's fossilized there. Okay. Organism, for something to fossilize, the organism dies and is quickly covered with sediment. Okay, so this usually happens at the bottom of water. Okay, if the organism dies and isn't quickly covered, okay, usually like something's going to scavenge it and eat it away. Okay, weathering will take it away. And so by covering it, it slows down the decay process. Okay, and then some of the original remains are preserved, such as the bones or shells. So that's the thing, like there's many organisms that died that never became fossilized. Not everything becomes a fossil. Okay, they have to be preserved in the right way, and it really comes down to a lot of luck. Something has to die and be covered by something like maybe a mudslide or water, something that's going to cause it to be preserved. Okay, and just showing examples of fossils. Okay, so a couple things that we learned from fossils. Okay, first off is different species lived on Earth at various times in the past. So very few animals that exist today lived a million years ago. Okay, almost all of the species that have lived are now extinct. Okay, and we just have what's currently living. Okay, the complexity of living organisms generally increases from the most distant past to the present. Okay, so when arranged chronologically, okay, there is an obvious and systematic progression for simple organisms to more complex ones. Okay, so just kind of looking at different species in the past. Okay, Halogentia, okay, which was in the early in the early periods, they lived 545 to 525 million years ago. When you see this Maya, it's million years ago. Okay, where the woolly mammoth, a lot bigger and more complex, okay, lived about 40,000 years ago, so a lot closer in time. Okay, and then the living species and their most closely matching fossils, they are typically located in the same geographical region. So kind of showing that the same things lived in the same place and have adapted to that place over time. So all fossils of ancient sloths are found in Central and South America. Most of the modern sloths are still found in those regions today. Okay, so just looking at some of the ancient ones. Okay, and then like in the South Americas, okay, and then the three-toed sloth in the Americas that are a lot smaller. So dating the past, okay, Charles Lyell, he was one of the geologists, I guess, that came up with some of these theories. So in 1830, Principles of Geology estimated that Earth may be millions of years ago, okay, which was a big contradiction to the church that believed the Earth was thousands of years old. Okay, Lord Kelvin, who was a physicist, estimated the Earth was about 15 to 20 million years old based on a mathematical model. This conflicted with geological evidence, which was accepted on the age of the Earth. Again, I'll post all these videos, okay, a lot like on their own. Okay. Radiometric dating. So this is using radioactive decay that changes the parent isotope into a daughter isotope of the same or different element. So basically, what happens is, like something like uranium, it decays into lead 206, okay, which is an isotope of lead. Okay, if we know how long it takes, like uranium, to decay into lead, then it kind of helps us figure out how long something's been around. So decay rates are measured in terms of half-life, the amount of time it takes for half of the sample of an isotope to decay. So half-lives are constant. They're not affected by temperature, moisture, or other factors. Uranium-238 will half of its half-life to become lead-206 is the exact same, doesn't matter what's added or taken away or the temperature, moisture, or any other factors. Okay, there you can kind of read here about how it works. Okay, radiometric dating is used to determine the ages of rocks and fossils. So using a single isotope is not accurate, so dates are confirmed by using multiple different isotopes. So kind of example here, so living organism absorbs carbon-14, which is radiocarbon, during their lifetime, okay, through the carbon cycle. The radiocarbon decays at a known rate, so paleontologists are able to determine the age of the fossil by measuring how much carbon-14 it contains. Okay, a small piece of the fossil is burned to convert the carbon dioxide gas, okay, and then basically they can figure out how much stable carbon-12, which is the regular carbon, there is, and then unstable carbon-14. Okay, carbon-14 decays into nitrogen-14, emitting an electron. Okay, and a radiation counter records the number of electrons emitted. So it tells us how many of these carbon-14s are left. Okay, evidence from biography. So the past biographers or biogeographer is the study of geographic distribution of life on Earth. So Earth's land masses have moved due to continental drift. Okay, 225 million years ago, Earth's continents were part of one landmass. After the continents separated, most species less than 150 million years were restricted to separate continents. Okay, so this suggests that they evolved after the breakup of the continents. So again, this is kind of the one continent that was called Pangaea. Okay, and from it broke apart. So we got North America, okay, South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, India, and Eurasia, which would be Europe and Asia, like including Russia and all that. Okay, and then there's different pieces kind of in between. They'd end up as islands in between, or some of them join different parts. Okay, and so this is kind of just showing the breakup. So we had our main land mass, it started to break apart. Okay, as we can see here, and then kind of form back together. Like this is South America, it'd form with North America. Here's Africa, and then this would be Europe up here. Okay, so from this, they kind of learned that, like if it was just one big central area, as it broke apart, different things evolved differently. So now looking at that, we don't have that as much anymore. Like our continents are where they are. Like the shift took millions of years. Okay, and so another way we can kind of look at this is looking at isolated islands. They're significant in this because you can see how species adapted to that island. So they host endemic species. So native species on remote islands are mostly birds, insects, and other mobile organisms. So the Hawaiian Islands okay, are 3,200 kilometers from any continent. Okay, native species on that island, there is 0 reptiles, only 2 types of mammals, and 96 different species of birds. So genetic testing has determined that the 1,729 native plants descended from 272 founding species of plants. Okay, some other things, so just showing like these are different using fossil evidence and the continental shift. So, oops. Okay, fossils older than 150 million years can be found on many different continents. Okay, so the fossil remains of the Mesosaurus, okay, are on Africa and South America. Okay, like these can be found throughout all. So that kind of shows that at some point these were all part of one area. All right, and so again, you'll just work through your worksheet, okay, instead of doing textbook questions, but it's always helpful to kind of read through and see what those questions look like from your textbook.